Hi everyone, Education here to talk to you about one-to-one tech for Tumblr EduPD. I'm starting out here on the EduPD Drive folder to show you what it looks like and how you can get to my materials. I am under Educational Technology in the one-to-one tech folder. Now if you get here, obviously we want to go to Read First. I have a presentation for you as well as several documents that support that presentation talking about how I use one-to-one tech in my classroom. So a little bit of background, I just finished my first year teaching. I teach at a one-to-one tech school. We are Apple affiliated, so we have iPads K2 and MacBooks 3 through 12. I teach in a MacBook classroom in 4th grade. My school is also a little unique because it is a project-based learning elementary school. We're one of about 3 or 4 new tech affiliated elementaries in the country. We are the only one in the Midwest. Enough about me. I really want to hear from all of you regarding what tech you have available, because that will obviously kind of dictate what you're able to do within your classroom, and I hope that you are in a one-to-one tech situation if you're watching this so that you can really reap the benefits and hopefully it'll apply a little better to you. So not that I don't love everybody, but this is geared specifically toward those of you who already are working with one-to-one tech in your classroom. If we go ahead and go into my presentation, there is a little bit of some background and some websites that I'd love to share with you guys today. Let's see. All right. So if we take a look, oh, that's not going to fit. Okay. We've already gone over this a little bit, just who I am and what I work with. I also didn't mention I work as a part of a 3-person team, and I collaborate for the most part with them in all subject areas. Typically we work in a rotation where if one person is really focusing on a project-based learning, the project itself and pulling the resources for that, the other person is focusing on the math instructional resources, and the other person is focusing on the reading instructional resources. And all of that eventually does tie together for project integration, but we do have to collect a lot of resources just in order to create our task lists and to really put our projects together. And one thing I really want to talk a little bit about, and I do touch on it in my presentation as well, is just the sheer amount of tech that is out there and the amount of websites that are out there at this point in time. I mean, if for any of you that do work within the realm of ed tech and or have a one-to-one school or district, you know that it can become very overwhelming, just the sheer amount of websites that are thrown at you. Try this, oh you should try this, it's so cool. And for me, I've really had to focus my energy and kind of become an expert in a few and really let my students become an expert in just a few and kind of work with what's best for me and what's best for my students, because as I'll talk about a little bit further, I really see that the strongest aspects of ed tech are when you can take the one-to-one tech and really use it to your benefit and make it an integrated part of your learning as opposed to a cool new gadget or, oh, let's just do this way because we have the tech. So that's another thing. Just I really like this Bill Ferritter. He has a lot of great thoughts in his tweets and everything regarding kids with one-to-one tech, but this image made its way around Tumblr a while back, a few months ago, and it really still sticks out to me as just something that I really think is important, especially being in a PBL environment, for just how we should be streamlining our thinking, what we should really be focusing on. I also put in a link to the Edutopia Tech Integration Professional Development Guide. It's pretty lengthy, there's 6 parts to it, and it really does a good job of just covering the why, the how, some of the stumbling blocks, and how you can work past them if you are in a situation where you may not have as streamless of tech as some others do. So in order to put context in the materials that I provided in my folder and kind of how I'm going to be structuring what I talk about today, I really need to focus and explain how my school and how my 4th grade team, and for me personally, how I structure my classroom, And obviously that'll change as you take things into your own classroom and do what you want with them, but just for context, I'm in an all subjects PBL classroom, like I said, in 4th grade, and our math and literacy block are 60 and 90 minutes. That does have some flex time because of PBL environment and project, but we still are held to the same mandates as the rest of the elementary schools in our district for the most part. Our project time varies throughout the day, but those math and literacy blocks are pretty standard. For our math and literacy blocks, we have websites. We were using My Big Campus, but we're moving to Canvas in the fall, which is a new tech-affiliated learning management system. I have a PD to attend on that coming up in a couple weeks, so I'll have to kind of give my review once I've gotten to that, but this is sort of the summer of moving everything over from the one to the other. But feasibly, these could be included in a Weebly, Google Drive, many free applications or websites that you could post your task list for your students, as I know most of you probably are already doing in some way or another. The students go on to My Big Campus and access the task list. I will show you a little bit about what that looks like in a few minutes here. Those are posted a week at a time typically. My teammates and I access each other's websites as administrators to upload those for all 3 4th grade classes. And I'm only sharing really the things that I personally planned and collected throughout this, just seemed right. We go over these together as a class and we begin, and we really go from there. I really do not spend more than maybe 10 or 15 minutes a day standing in front of my class talking to all of them at once. My class is very freely structured, I guess is the way to put it. There's not a lot of direct instruction besides directions and sometimes some brief review. They get their task list and they complete it in order with the time provided. They finish the rest as homework, and if they don't finish that homework, then we have sort of built-in consequences and loss of recess, loss of specials, depending on kind of how we have to finagle it for the day, but typically the students are able to finish the work within the time provided. If they don't, typically it's either an issue with not understanding material, whereas that becomes something on my part that I need to kind of intervene with, or slacking off on their computers and using their time inappropriately, which I'll talk more about as well later on. As I said, they work around the room. Not a lot of direct instruction. It's very independently paced and structured. And I have a kidney table where I call kids back in small groups and also as individuals, depending on what I'm teaching for the day. And that can really vary from one day to another, just exactly what I'm doing at that table. But typically it's where I introduce new content, go over more difficult things, lead problem-based learning math problems, and also do a lot of writing workshops with my students and guided reading. The tasks are a mixture. There's a lot of information about how I plan in my Planning with One-to-One Tech document that's in the folder. I definitely encourage you to check that out. It was an adaptation from a previous blog post, but a lot of good information in that as well. This is just kind of an overview of different ways my students use their tech daily, and some of it's a little bit cut off, but I'll go over it. We do a lot of reading of articles, primary sources, very easy to access. What we do need to work on, and I personally need to work on more with my students this coming year, is being able to determine the reliability of a source and also the appropriateness of a source, especially for them at their reading level. I found that it was easier for me to kind of scaffold that, but I do want them to be working toward finding their own sources a little bit more. We collaborate with people within our classroom and with that and outside of it. Checks for understanding, there's a lot of different ways to do that through various websites that I'll talk about later on. We present and publish our work. We watch a lot of videos because I am in sort of a semi-flipped environment. I have my students watching instructional videos while I work one-on-one with others. So it's sort of an in-class flip, just because some of my students do not have wireless at home, even though we are allowed to take home the computers. We use interactive manipulatives and games to problem solve, and we also use those games to really skill build, kind of those drill and kill type things like multiplication facts, spelling words. There's a lot of ways to kind of make that more exciting online, even though sometimes that's something you still have to do. I have some resources to share, And like I said before, I don't want to overwhelm you with these. I just want to kind of share the ones that I found most successful for myself. Reading A to Z, ReadWorks, and K12 Reader. I've included them even though they are actually, for the most part, providing with PDFs or printouts of reading. So these aren't exactly the best examples, but there are a lot out there. And for me, I still find it easier to find more high quality things this way and then upload them into Google Drive as PDFs for my students. But all of these are great because they do have a lot of lexiling. You can really find different levels of the same content, which is great. And you can also, they have a lot of nonfiction, they have a lot of just things that really kind of fit where the direction that my district at least is going with our reading programs and Common Core. As far as collaboration and discussion goes, Twitter is something that I want to get better at with my students this year. I have a class Twitter account, but we mostly used it to share pictures with their parents, to be quite honest. So that's something I want to use to network more this coming year. If anyone has any tips for that, I would love to hear how you're using Twitter in your classroom. Discussion posts are something we do quite frequently, and that's a nice way to just kind of put one good heavy comprehension question or higher level thinking question for students when they're reading. It's a good check mark just to see how students are taking things in, and it's also good for the students to respond back to each other, which is something we're working on more this year. Socrata, which I would love to show you guys really quick, is a great website for, here we go, just a great website as far as check for understanding goes. You can really, oh, you know what, I don't want to log into this right now, I apologize, and I'm not going to reshoot this because it's late. Check it out. I just don't feel comfortable logging in with my school password and ID on the screen during that, so maybe I'll pull that up in a future video while it's already logged in and show that to you. I didn't have that set up ahead of time, so I apologize. But there are a lot of different ones out there that are similar. You can put up something on the board and then your students can log in and quickly respond, kind of like a clicker system, to different questions, multiple choice, exit tickets. Really helpful, and you can just get immediate results and really get an individual response from every kid, which I like when it's hard sometimes to get that in the class time. Same goes for podcasts. I have my students record themselves a lot, whether it's a screen recording or webcam, with QuickTime typically, just because it doesn't flip around the webcam. So if they're writing out math problems, it doesn't reverse it, which is great. Good hint there. And my students really enjoy that. They like being able to see themselves in video, and they share those with me, and it's good for me to kind of see how they're going through a problem and how they're thinking, and that's something that we really enjoyed doing this past year. I'm going to do more of that in the future. As far as this stuff goes, KidBlog is great. I have some examples of my students' work from KidBlog in the Google Drive folder that you can check out, talking about Asian carp and Cesar Chavez, all sorts of things. But that's really nice because the link is easy to share with parents, and they can access that from home and look at their students' writing and also see the improvement over time. We also use Google Drive. We are a Google Apps for Education district, so all of my students have Google Apps logins and are able to share things with me that way, which we do a lot of, so we can kind of edit together and I can leave comments. It's very helpful. Videos, I have Khan Academy, Learn Zillion, Brain Pop, and Study Jams, all very great resources. I'm really never at a loss to find a video that fits what I'm trying to teach, and that's something that I really am thankful for, because with the, like I said, semi-flipped environment, it's very important to have that access for students and just hear it a few different ways, because sometimes what I'm saying is just not getting through to them, and it's very helpful to hear that. Khan Academy and Learn Zillion are both Common Core aligned, which is great. Brain Pop is paid, but is also wonderful, and Study Jams is Classic Run. Not quite as much content out there, but still very informational.